Hey, what's up? David, Brazos Barbell. Yesterday, I just finished up the USAPL Summer Powerfest, and it was a pretty good redemption meet for me. So, the last two meets, I've had a lot of trouble with my deadlifts and ended up with not finishing at all on both of them. So, it was really good to come back and put together a complete meet this time. So, I'm going to go through some of my reflections, I guess, some of the stuff that I would do differently, some of the stuff I really liked with my training and how the competition went, and what I think I'm going to be doing going forward, especially heading into what's going to be a very competitive meet at Raw Nationals this year. So to start off with, I cut for this meet a little bit more than I normally do. So I've cut from other meets from around the 215 range. I was more like 217, 218 for this one, and it really affected me during squats. So the cut was pretty good. I got down to about 95 kilos the morning of, which that was in the range of where I thought I wanted to be. But when it came down to it, I didn't give myself enough time. And so the last kilo that it took for me to lose that weight was really just brutal. So I'll probably make some sort of video on weight cuts and my recommendations, but my other cuts have gone well. This was for sure my biggest one. And going into nationals, I'm not going to be cutting this much. So I'll diet down. I'll lose a little bit of weight. I'll probably lose maybe 1.5 kilos, maybe up to 2 kilos, so that my weight cut will be a little bit easier. But what ended up happening was that after weigh-ins, and I actually had to weigh in twice. My first weigh-in, I weighed in at 93.2. So I had to go spit a little bit more and came back and weighed in at 93 on the dot. So I was in the first flight, which is something that I guess on one side I'm not really used to. I'm usually in maybe a second or even third flight, so I get a little bit more time to rehydrate. But in this case, I was happy to be in the first flight because Raw Nationals is a meet that moves really, really fast. So if I was going to cut a similar amount of weight for Raw Nationals, I didn't want to be put in a situation where I was used to having an extra hour potentially to rehydrate. So in this case, I weighed in late again because it took me twice. So I didn't weigh in until maybe it was in between 7:30 and 7:45. So by the time I actually made weight, and then the meet started a little bit late, but I ended up having to starting to warm up about an hour after my weigh-in, which obviously was a tough thing to do. So I felt okay after getting all of my weight off. But as soon as I started to try to drink anything, I was getting extremely nauseous. So for a while, I could barely stand up. It was more just like anytime I would stand up, I would get pretty nauseous. So I was trying to keep that away. So I was laying down, trying to sip on water. But that was not a great situation for me to really get my squats going. So my warm-ups were really feeling okay. The bar on my back felt fine. The weight didn't feel too heavy. My squats were feeling strong enough. But the nausea every time I would squat, I was nauseous. I had only had about 1 bottle of water, just 1 scoop of pre-workout, so I didn't have a whole lot of will or motivation. I wasn't going into the squats with a whole lot of intensity. So I was considering dropping my warm up, but then my last 2 warm ups, I did 545 and 575 as my last warm ups, and those actually moved okay. So the weights were moving fine. It was just more about my motivation and my willpower, and a lot of my thoughts going into each squat were just about making sure I didn't throw up. So my opener was 275 kilos or 606 pounds, and looking back on the video and remembering how I felt, it really moved fine, and it moved, I guess, consistent with how my warm-up felt. It maybe didn't move as well as what it had in training, but then again, in training, I had plenty of food in me, plenty of caffeine, lots of good circumstances. And I actually don't feel like the weight cut specifically affected my strength levels. I didn't feel weak because I was dehydrated. I felt weak because I basically didn't have any food in me, or because I was nauseous and because I hadn't had any caffeine. So I was kind of, I don't know if sleepwalking is the right word, but I was going in pretty stagnant into my squat attempts, which was not a good recipe for making my squats move quickly. So the plan was to come into this meet and hopefully squat 300 kilos like I had in training. But then during my warm-ups, I was aware that may potentially not be the case today, but I just said, let's just take it one lift at a time. So 275 was my first attempt, moved fine, all white lights. Second attempt went up to 285, 628 pounds, which was fine. My planned second was 290. So just a little bit under that. And again, this one moved okay, but the weights on my back felt fine, but I just wasn't being able to give it everything I had. So just one red for depth on that one, and that's kind of something that I get pretty much every time. I'll get one red from either side on about every one of my lifts for squatting. But so that one, I was feeling like I had a pretty good chance at. I was starting to maybe feel a little bit better. I felt like I could put together a good bench press and deadlift session, so didn't want to do anything stupid. There was a temptation for me to go to 292 to get a meet PR, but I just said, let's just get the 290 with something that I was totally confident in, and it ended up being a pretty good call. So the weight felt good on my back. The whole thing was feeling like it was going to be pretty good, and then it turned into a really good grind on the way up. So really happy to walk away with a successful attempt there. Just one red again for depth on my left side. So no big deal moving forward. And at that point, I was actually starting to feel a little bit better and starting to be able to get some food in me. And so then I moved into bench press warm-ups. And my bench press during training has been one that about a month ago I was really hitting some PRs on about every session that I did. 3 count pauses above 400, like some tempo work above 400 and things like that. And so I was pretty confident that I was going to be set up for a great meet bench. But then as usual, going into my competitions, my bench press stagnates and even regresses a little bit in the last few weeks. Not because I'm getting weaker, but I'd say fatigue from other places. I definitely prioritize my squat and I prioritize my deadlift above my bench press as far as making sure that those lifts show up in training. But the last 3 or 4 meets in a row, and actually this meet included, I'd say that my bench press really peaks very, very well. So warming up, I felt very confident that this was going to be another kind of those days. So my last 2 warm-ups, I did 315, 365. Those flew. So felt really, really good. The last few weeks, anything above 375, 385 has been pretty challenging for me, and I hit over 400 almost every week, but nothing that really felt like that I had too much more in the tank. But I've learned to trust it in some ways and give myself a chance. So opened 175 kilos or 385 pounds and smoked it. It felt really, really good. I knew I was in for a good bench day, and I was really thinking that I was going to get up to 190 or 418 for a meet PR and get up. And I had 2 reds from both the side judges. So what they said was that they didn't feel like my feet were flat on the ground. And I was a little frustrated with this call when I got the reds from both side judges. And in my opinion, I shouldn't have been given a start command in the first place. I should have been told to re-rack the bar. I've been told that my feet weren't flat and given an opportunity to adjust it, and then hopefully hit my opener and move on. So walk away having missed my opener, but it felt really, really good. So I decided that's okay. I'm going to go up 5 kilos. I'll try to keep a little bit of momentum going, but not put myself in a bad situation and make any sort of big jump. So went up to 180 kilos, or I think it's 396 pounds. And had a little bit of a tough go there. So my first unrack, kind of same thing, held, and then was told to re-rack the bar because my feet weren't flat. So tried to adjust my feet a little bit, held, and was eventually given a start command. But as soon as I was given a start command, one of the spotters grabbed the bar. So then at that point, I was expecting to be given another attempt at it, maybe at the end of the flight. I think there was at least one guy behind me, so I would have been given a little bit of an opportunity, but my arms were getting pretty tired at this point. So the head judge just told me to go again. So set up again, and now I've been holding the bar for about 10 or more seconds. So given the start command, moves really fast after a long hold before the start, and I felt really good about the attempt, but again, still one red from one of the side judges saying that he thought my feet were up. What I was being told by them was that both of them felt like the opposite foot was up. They were looking at the foot in front of him, and they felt like that foot was flat, but looking across the way, it looked like my foot was up off the ground. Now, this is a thing I've competed in these shoes, in these flats, at the Arnold, at Raw Nationals a couple of times, and have never had this issue. So I don't know exactly if I plan on changing my footwear. I switched to the flats on purpose and get my feet a little bit further back, and my butt doesn't really ever come up. So I've been really comfortable in these shoes, but obviously it's not something that, even though I kind of disagree with how the rules are being enforced there, it's not something that I want to just dismiss and say that they were wrong, because it's something that's a judgment call by the official there. So I ended up changing my shoes for my third attempt and went up to 185 kilos. So it's 2.5 below my best bench. And it was okay. I definitely think I could have matched at least the 2.5 more. I think had things been running smoother, I think I would have been fine for another 5 for that 190 in a PR. So again, something that I'm happy with. There's every single meet that I do, there's always going to be some sort of adversity, and I can't expect to just have a smooth go of things every time I go. So being able to keep my composure and even make I was pushed by my girlfriend to change my shoes and not just be arrogant or cocky and just try to prove the judges wrong and keep my footwear on. And she convinced me to change into my heeled shoes to be able to be a little bit more convincing for that third attempt, and it ended up being a really good decision. So switched to that, got the 185, and so still building a pretty good total here. So at this point, I was able to get a lot more caffeine in me, a lot more food in me, and by the time I got to deadlifts, I was really feeling back to normal. No more nausea, none of that kind of stuff. So the hard part with this meet was that this meet consistently uses Texas power bars, which is it's an extremely whippy bar. I mean, calling it a power bar is a little bit of a stretch. It's even squatting, there were some issues walking out. The warm ups, or the bar kind of flops all over your back. So pulling over 700 is it makes the bar look like it has a whole lot of speed, but then it was something that obviously I was concerned with because I've had some lockout issues in the past, and so this bar being extremely whippy was something that was at least somewhat concerning to me. So I'd be lying if I said that I wasn't nervous heading into those deadlifts, compounding or adding the extra factor that the bar was going to be whippy. So my training has been going well. My lockouts have been rock solid, and I felt like I was going to be able to overcome any of that. And also I've been very, very confident with my technique. So warming up, I've missed a couple of warm-ups. Historically, there's a lot of times that I do miss my last warm-up. I get in a hurry, but was really deliberate. Locked out all my warm-ups. Everything was feeling really good, but that bar whip was something that I really had to be concerned about. So went into my opener is 325 kilograms, 716 pounds. And I made sure to be calm and smooth, and I basically gave it as little effort as I could to get the bar moving. And so the deadlift bar, the Texas power bar, almost a deadlift bar, came flying off the ground with very little effort, but there's a substantial amount of whip with it. And so the kind of shaky at the top, got a quick down command, which almost makes the video look worse. I feel like I would have been able to hold that a really long time once that whip got under control. But turned around, I was a little nervous initially that there was going to be a red light or two on there, but just because of how the whip felt getting pulled all over the place. But turned to 3 white lights, so big monkey off my back, big sigh of relief. A good moment for me was setting down that last deadlift, getting the lights, and there was a pretty good ovation from the audience there. I apparently had a good amount of support there. There were a lot of people that were cheering for me, and so knocking out that first deadlift and getting on the board again was a big sigh of relief. So next deadlift, I just stuck with my plan, even though things were with that bar, I could have at least given a shot at pulling a whole lot more, but it was just really unpredictable as far as what's going to happen with that bar and with my lockout. So went up to 340, I guess, 750 pounds, and again, that one was really easy, but the whip at the top moved me around a little bit, and I got called from the front judge for, I guess he gave me a soft lockout, which I don't at all disagree with. There's definitely some movement there, but 2 whites from the side, so definitely moving forward. So feeling pretty good now, and so I decided to go for the planned third of 355 kilos, which is above the current American record, and so it would get me back on top of the deadlift leaderboard. So pulled that one, and that one was the only one that I really felt like I put a whole lot of effort into. The other two, I was just making sure that even if I get pulled out of position, that I was pulling smooth enough and slow enough that I'd be able to get back in. So at 355 kilos, 782 pounds, I really, that was the first lift that or the first deadlift that I put a lot of emotion into, and it was probably my best looking one and for sure the fastest of them. So that one gave it a good tug, bar flies off the floor, and I think that one was probably my most solid lockout anyway. So ended with an 830 kilo PR total. I think that was 820 or 1829. I think it was something like a 521 Wilks. So my goal coming in was to get 840 or more on my total, and obviously squats affected that. That knocked off 10 kilos or more there. Bench press maybe knocked off 2.5, 5 kilos. But the take home here is that I'm extremely pleased squatting the way that I did, even though that the squats, there was no PR, no nothing. That was about the worst possible circumstances that I feel like I could have been in squatting. I couldn't have felt worse. I had no food in me, no energy, no motivation, and I was still able to put up what matched my personal record. So if I play things a little smarter, don't cut as much weight, if that process is handled a little bit better, then I'm confident that I'll be able to squat 300 and maybe even more, or I'd expect it to be substantially more at Raw Nationals with some good training. So if 290 or 640 is my worst squat that I can get, then I'm really pleased with that. I'm pleased with my bench press training, that again, regardless of what happens in the last few weeks, that I can expect that to be a good thing, and that even being able to keep myself under control and make good decisions and walk away there. And then I'm really happy to walk away with a deadlift PR and then a meet PR and all those kind of things, and just get back moving forward again instead of kind of going after redemption. So going forward with training, I'll move back into a little bit low specificity, kind of higher volume stuff, wash out some of the old stuff that I've been doing, and then basically start building into Raw Nationals. I think it's only 3-ish months away, so maybe a little bit, 3.5 months or something like that. So not a whole lot of time for a turnaround here, but if 830 is kind of the minimum number that I think I can get, I'd be really looking for more like an 850 kilo total at Raw Nationals, and looking to do something big this year. So thanks a lot for watching this. I'm going to be making a lot more videos of some of the things I'm doing with my training going in, and keeping people updated with everything that's going on. So give me a like, subscribe to the channel. We'll see you next time.